The UK voted to leave the EU in 2016. This historic decision, known as Brexit, was the result of a nationwide referendum where a slim majority chose to sever ties with the European Union. The campaign leading up to the vote was highly contentious. It marked a significant turning point in the UK's political landscape, affecting the economy and social fabric. The immediate aftermath saw a mix of jubilation and despair, reflecting deep divisions within the country. In recent years, there has been a noticeable shift in public opinion. Initially, many believed that leaving the EU would bring greater sovereignty and economic freedom. However, as the realities of Brexit unfolded, public sentiment started to change. Many now believe it was a mistake. This growing sense of regret is evident in various public opinion polls and surveys. People from different walks of life, including those who initially supported Brexit, are now questioning the wisdom of that decision. This phenomenon is called regret. The term captures the collective remorse felt by a significant portion of the population. It reflects the disillusionment with the promises made during the Brexit campaign, many of which have not been fulfilled. Recent polls highlight the growing sense of regret. These surveys indicate that a substantial number of people now believe that the decision to leave the EU was misguided. The economic and social consequences of Brexit have played a major role in shaping this new perspective. A significant percentage of the UK population now believes that leaving the EU was the wrong decision. This shift in opinion is particularly pronounced among younger generations, who feel that their futures have been compromised by the referendum's outcome. This shift in opinion is unusual. Typically, support for referendum results tends to solidify over time as people adjust to new realities. However, with Brexit, the opposite has occurred, leading to widespread discontent. Instead of uniting the country, the decision to leave the EU has deepened divisions and led to a sense of betrayal among many voters. The economic consequences of Brexit are significant. Many industries have been hit hard, leading to job losses and financial instability. The uncertainty surrounding future trade deals has also dampened investor confidence. Many young people feel they have lost opportunities. The ability to live, work and study in EU countries has been restricted, limiting their prospects and creating a sense of frustration and anger. The UK government faces a challenge. They must navigate the complex and often contentious process of implementing Brexit while addressing the growing dissatisfaction among the public. More people are unhappy with Brexit. Protests and demonstrations have become more frequent, with citizens demanding that their voices be heard and their concerns addressed. The government must acknowledge these concerns and find ways to mitigate the negative consequences of Brexit. This will require careful planning, open dialogue, and a willingness to adapt to the changing needs and sentiments of the population. Young people in Britain feel particularly let down by Brexit. They have taken to the streets, holding signs and chanting slogans, expressing their frustration and disappointment. Many were too young to vote in the referendum. They watched from the sidelines as a decision that would shape their futures was made without their input. They believe Brexit has negatively impacted their futures. The uncertainty surrounding job prospects, educational opportunities, and the ability to travel freely across Europe weighs heavily on their minds. They see fewer opportunities for work, travel, and cultural exchange. The barriers that Brexit has erected are not just physical, but also psychological. Surveys show that a large majority of young people believe Brexit was a mistake. This sentiment is echoed in their social media posts, conversations, and public demonstrations. They feel ignored by the government. Despite their vocal opposition, they feel their voices are not being heard. They believe the government prioritizes older generations. The youth feel their needs and aspirations are being sidelined. These older generations were more likely to support Brexit in the first place. The divide between the young and the old is stark. This disillusionment among young people is concerning. It is not just about Brexit, but about their overall faith in the political system. It raises questions about the long-term consequences of Brexit. How will this disillusionment shape their future participation in politics? These young people will become adults. Their experiences and frustrations will undoubtedly influence their choices. They will enter the workforce. The challenges they face now will shape their career paths and their approach to work. Their negative experiences could shape their political views. They may become more skeptical of political promises and more critical of government actions. They may not trust political institutions. This lack of trust could have far-reaching implications affecting voter turnout and civic engagement. This could lead to further divisions in society. The generational divide, already evident, could widen, creating a more fragmented and polarized society. The economic consequences of Brexit are becoming increasingly apparent. The UK economy is struggling, inflation is rising, unemployment is increasing. Businesses are facing uncertainty and red tape. The value of the pound has fallen sharply since the referendum. This makes imports more expensive. This contributes to the rising cost of living. Many businesses rely on imports. They are struggling to cope with the increased costs. Brexit has also made it more difficult for UK businesses to trade with the EU. This is the UK's largest trading partner. The added bureaucracy and customs checks are a burden. Some businesses have moved operations to the EU. Brexit has exacerbated social divisions in the UK. The referendum campaign was highly divisive. It created a climate of hostility and mistrust. This has continued since the vote. Immigration was a key issue in the Brexit campaign. Leaving the EU has made it more difficult for EU citizens to live and work in the UK. This has created a sense of uncertainty and anxiety among EU citizens living in the UK. Brexit has also led to increased tensions between different communities in the UK. The debate over Scottish independence has intensified. There are concerns about the future of the Good Friday Agreement in Northern Ireland. Section 5. Political disillusionment. A failure to listen. The handling of Brexit has led to widespread political disillusionment in the UK. The initial promise of a smooth and beneficial exit from the European Union has turned into a prolonged and contentious process, leaving many citizens feeling frustrated and betrayed. Many people feel let down by politicians. They believe that their voices and concerns have been ignored in the political arena, leading to a growing sense of alienation and mistrust towards the government. They feel ignored and unheard. The repeated promises and reassurances from political leaders have done little to alleviate their concerns, and the lack of tangible progress has only deepened their disillusionment. The Conservative government, which has been in power since 2010, has been heavily criticised for its handling of Brexit. Critics argue that the government has failed to present a coherent and effective strategy, leading to a series of setbacks and delays. The negotiations with the EU were protracted and complex. Each round of talks seemed to bring new challenges and disagreements, further complicating the process and eroding public confidence in the government's ability to deliver a successful Brexit. The government was accused of lacking a clear plan. This perceived lack of direction has been a major point of contention, with many feeling that the government was unprepared for the realities of negotiating such a significant and complex departure. The Labour Party, the main opposition party, has also faced criticism. Despite positioning itself as an alternative to the Conservative government, it has struggled to present a unified and compelling vision for the future. It has been accused of failing to provide a clear alternative to the government's Brexit strategy. This lack of a strong and coherent opposition has left many voters feeling that there is no viable political option that truly represents their interests and concerns. This lack of clear opposition has contributed to the sense of political disillusionment. As a result, many people feel disenchanted with the entire political system, questioning whether their voices will ever be heard and whether meaningful change is possible. Section 6. The future of Brexit calls for reassessment. The future of Brexit remains uncertain. The UK left the EU in January 2020. However, the relationship between the UK and the EU is still evolving. There are growing calls for a reassessment of Brexit. Some people believe the UK should rejoin the EU. Others believe the UK should seek a closer relationship with the EU than it currently has. The UK government has ruled out rejoining the EU. However, it has indicated that it is open to exploring closer ties with the EU in certain areas, such as trade and security. Section 7. International implications. A weakened union. Brexit has had significant international implications. It has weakened the EU. It has damaged the UK's standing in the world. The EU is a major economic and political power. The UK's departure has left a hole in the Union. The EU is now less influential on the world stage. Brexit has also damaged the UK's reputation. It is seen as more inward-looking and isolationist. This has made it more difficult for the UK to build relationships with other countries. It's an outside. Section 8. Conclusion. Learning from the past. Brexit has been a divisive and challenging period for the UK. It is still too early to say what the long-term consequences of Brexit will be. However, it is clear that Brexit has had a profound impact on the UK. It can choose to learn from the mistakes of the past, or it can continue down the path of division and isolation. The choices made in the years to come will shape the destiny of the UK for generations. What do you think? Leave your comments below, and don't forget to hit the like button and to subscribe.